What did we just watch right there? Fanta, give me your immediate post-game reaction. Where are you at right now? How are you feeling? How are you internalizing everything that we just watched on that basketball court?
All-time stuff in every way, shape, and form. First off, you tip your hat to UCLA because that's an all-time effort from the Bruins. They put everything together to pull this off tonight. In many ways, they deserve to win this game. I thought it was the perfect game plan. But a 19-year-old, time and time again, had the heart of a champion. Jalen Suggs should be drafted number 1. That's not, but because of the sequences we saw in this game, that is an all-time finish to an all-time game in the history of college basketball. And Gonzaga took a team's very best punch, and here they are now, heading to the national title game still. We get the dream matchup on Monday between Gonzaga and Baylor. We got a dream finish tonight. An Easter kiss to the title game.
Dave, how you feeling, man? How you feeling?
The game was insane. I'm not going to lie to you. I was initially I was worried about UCLA, and damn, was I wrong. I mean, they took a nice little punch early in the game, and then the guys fought back. I mean, Tiger was great tonight. Johnny was amazing. Jaime was amazing as well. Like they played great, but damn, man. Like Drew Timme toward the end of the game in OT, great. Jalen Suggs was great. Cody Riley was awesome. Like the game was like, no lie, it was just an amazing game to watch.
That was so stressful. I don't understand how those guys just played that game, because I'm sitting here and I have no interest in the game. I'd be over, right? And like that shit, I knew that was going over like 5 minutes into the game, so there was no sweat there. But I'm sitting here like biting my nails, like holy shit, like my heart's beating out of my chest. And man, look, Fanta, I think you hit the nail on the head, man. First and foremost, before we talk about Gonzaga, because that's obvious, we have to give all the credit in the world to that performance from UCLA to go from the first four to the Final Four, put in that fight this long into the event, not having Da'Sean Nix, not having Chris Smith, not having Jalen Hill, basically going with a 5-man rotation. Those dudes left every single ounce of energy that they have in their body on that basketball court. I have nothing but respect for them. Nothing but respect for the effort that they put in. That was awesome.
That was insane.
The resilience of this team. They fall behind by 5 in this game. UCLA ran out of time. Best thing I've ever seen. Pat, I'm not going to fault you for saying that, and it is not prisoner of the moment stuff. That is one of the greatest college basketball games ever. It's what we deserve. It's what we've been waiting 13 months for after the hell that everybody's been through over the last year. How cool is it that we get that on this stage? And if you're a UCLA Bruins fan, you're probably in tears right now. I understand it. You're upset. But I got to tell you, your team was just part of an amazing run. And what this comes down to for me is Gonzaga goes up by 4 with a couple minutes left. Then in overtime, they go up 5. I would have lived with Andrew Nembhard pulling up for 3 and hitting that 3 to go up 90-85. And I'm sitting there thinking, what are you going to do if you're UCLA? You defended it as well as you could. And they didn't let Timme get an easy basket. But then for UCLA to come back again, get within 2, and then just the relentlessness of Jaquez in the lane to say, Jaquez and Juzang in this game to say, we are not letting our team lose. Those two, I mean, they've wrote themselves into Bruin history with how relentless they were. And for UCLA just to tie the game and nearly force double overtime was incredible. So instant classic stuff. Guys, I got to tell you, Drew Timme is a throwback player, but it works to perfection. And the show that he put on to start overtime was as smooth as his mustache.
It really was so good. I want to rewind a little bit, though, because it felt there were 3 or 4 moments in this game where it really felt like Gonzaga was about to put this thing to bed, right? When the hook and hold on Cody Riley, that pushed it to 6, and then like 2 possessions later, Joel Ayayi's coming down. He's got that little runner in the lane, and if he hits that, they go up 9, and that might be, that might end up being the end of it. But I mean, UCLA fought all the way back. They ended up taking the lead. They had a chance to win it down the stretch. Same thing in overtime. They get it, that Nembhard 3. You're exactly right, Fan. I was like, well,
that step back was amazing.
This shit's over. Great effort, but this shit's over. And
no, Yeah.
It was like, to me, I kind of felt like Cody, anytime the ball great happened.
Yeah.
Mick Cronin, I don't know if that was like done on purpose or not, but most of the time when Cody Riley touched the ball, he was either finding people on cuts or he was getting double teamed. And Jazang was the guy that was reaping the benefits off those double teams sometimes and getting wide open shots. I was just very impressed with how UCLA played, and it's tough that they ended up losing. But the way who they lost to and how it ended, great game, man.
Now, hey,
I was very impressed. I thought it was gonna be tough.
You know who the big winner of the night is in all this, and we'll get to it. The big winner of the night is Scott Drew, who got to sit in his hotel room, get some film review in, hope he had a glass of wine or a brew. And Scott Drew, after a blowout where Baylor didn't have to – they didn't have to stress at all. They had no pressure on them. Baylor marching out of the title game, and they get to then watch that game go 93-90, and Gonzaga have to really get pushed to the limit here. So, I just can't get over the tough shot making by UCLA in this game. How many tough twos did UCLA make in a sport where we always say, don't take the 15 to 17-foot shot? The Bruins were hitting them time and again.
It really is amazing. It's no joke, Finn. Yeah. Like every one of those shots was like Da'Sean Butler in his prime, hitting little pull-up middies. Like that was. I know you were loving that, man. I know you were loving it.
Loved every bit of it. I loved it because this is what we talked about last time we had talked. My worry about UCLA was more or less when they don't get much out of their offense, they just give the ball to Zhang and pray. And damn, it wasn't just a prayer today. Like these guys were just absolutely on fire. Like it
worked today.
That's what kept it worked. And it worked, and it was just impressive to see just as far as like the array of shots they could make when the shot clock was going down. Like most of their points were while the shot clock was going down. It was impressive for UCLA to me. Like I was impressed with the gapping that they were doing on Jalen Suggs early in the first half. Throughout the first half in general, it made it very difficult for him to score. They were doing great defensively, and then they just stuck it out offensively and just didn't quit, and it was able to keep it a game. It's just the better team ended up winning today.
Yeah, and look, the game plan that Mick Cronin drew up was exactly what we expected it to be, right? They took 25 seconds off the shot clock every single possession, right? Yes. They got to the end of the clock, they found the matchup that they wanted, and they isolated it, whether it was Johnny Juzang being guarded by Jalen Suggs, whether it was Corey Kispert being guarded by Jaime Jaquez being guarded by Corey Kispert, or if it was Cody Riley trying to go one-on-one on the post against Drew Timme. They found the matchup they wanted, they isolated it, and they let their dudes go one-on-one in that spot at the end of the shot clock and just trusted that they would be able to go make a shot. And they did. Defensively, they took away the middle. They dared Gonzaga to shoot jumpers over the top and beat them. They chased Corey Kispert off the three-point line, and they switched everything and said, look, you are not going to you're not going to beat us with Drew Timme post-ups. And it worked
That's how they lost.
You know what?
That's how they lost.
Here's the thing about this game plan. To your point, Rob, they executed. UCLA executed their game plan perfectly, and Gonzaga scored 93 points. If this isn't the greatest offense of all time, I don't know what is. Tonight only validated that this is the best offense we've seen, at least in the modern history of college basketball. Seriously, UCLA was taking the shot clock down. They made Gonzaga work on every single possession of this game. I thought Gonzaga was tight at times, and they still put up 93 points. And if I would have told either of you before the game that Gonzaga is going to score 93 tonight, if I would have told anybody in here, you know what you would have said to me? You're crazy if you think UCLA is going to be in that game. If Gonzaga scores 93, there's no shot UCLA will be in the game. They were in the game. They kept on punching. And I was just going to say, I think Cody Riley just made another 16-foot pull-up. Gonzaga, unbelievable how many times he hit that shot. This is one of the greatest games ever. It might be the best game I've ever seen from just a start to finish, back and forth. It's impeccable. I cannot get over how much fun that was. That's everything this tournament is about.
Yeah, and the best part about it is that not only was it close and stressful and coming down to the final seconds, but it was a very well-played game offensively, right? Like we've seen some of these close games, like Texas and Abilene Christian was really close, but it was 53-52. That was the score of this game at halftime. Right? The Michigan UCLA game was a thriller, but that was in the 50s. We got a buzzer beater when UCLA played Alabama, but again, that wasn't the prettiest basketball game. That was all missed free throws and charges. So to get a game that was played at this high of a level on this stage between these two teams was just it was perfect. And Day, I got a question for you, but before I do that, I just want to make one point that where we are right now in the trajectory of the Gonzaga basketball program is that the last time that they were kind of in a situation like this, they were a 10 seed going up against UConn in the Elite Eight back in what year was that? 1999 when they first came on the scene. And they had a very similar game to what we just watched them do against UCLA, where they were the underdog. They played pretty much perfect, and they ended up losing to the number 1 seed who figured things out down the stretch. That was the year UConn won their first title. Fast forward to this year, we have UCLA as the underdog and the Cinderella against the Gonzaga team that's a juggernaut playing for an undefeated season, and they are the ones that end up prevailing and keep their undefeated season alive. It's just I think looking at the arc of the Gonzaga program is pretty fantastic. But Dave, I want to ask you, you've been on a stage like this before, and you've hit game winners, not in the Final Four, but you've hit game winners in the Big East tournament. You've hit game winners on national television. Like what is that moment like when Jalen Suggs hits that shot, sees that shot go in, and is celebrating? Like, what is that? Take me through that moment.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Just I was very fortunate to have most of my games were tied when I made my shots. So, like, just to see that, shot go down, and just, it's hard to explain, man. It really is. You're obviously out there with your team trying to win a basketball game, trying to do the best you absolutely can, especially in this scenario, where it's like going home. And man, he just knocked the damn shot down from where was that? Like, was it like inside a half? It was
probably about 35. I don't think it was half court. Like he was probably 2 steps in inside of it. And there were people that were in the chat about the fact that he banked it in. Like one guy said, a brick for a game winner, that's BS. But hey, look, man, it is what it is, okay? That was great. That was great. By the way, this is how you know it was a good game. You got to go beer number 2.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
yo, how about Mark Few? Like we talked earlier about UCLA switching and making things difficult for him, and instead of just like swinging the ball around and trying to find, I don't know what they were trying to find early in the, just went directly to the miss at the end of the second half and in overtime, where Drew Timme had the guard, and they were like, all right, fine, we're just gonna go to Drew Timme and get the bucket. Like it took them almost like forever to get to that, as opposed to like in the beginning of the game, they were swinging the ball around, and Joel Ayayi played great in the first half as well. But it just didn't seem like they wanted to initially attack that mismatch, like because they had it early, like they were switching the entire time.
Yeah, that was a little bit strange. I don't understand. I think if Few could have it back, he would change that a little bit. It seemed like what they were trying to do very early on was to try to get Tiger Campbell isolated in the post against Joel Ayayi or against Andrew Nembhard, which I get, but it's also like if your game plan is to go to your 4th or your 5th best option instead of going to one of your 3 All-Americans, like I feel like that's kind of not the greatest answer. But at the same time, like when you watch that, I don't think their issue was on the offensive end of the floor. Like they more or less got what they wanted whenever they wanted it, right?
Yeah, it wasn't that big a deal.
It was 93-90. It's hard to have many issues on the offensive end of the floor in a college game.
Yeah, like the thing was they just couldn't get stops against like UCLA's guys, and I honestly don't even know if it was like bad defense or if just like UCLA made big shots. You know, like I think it was a combination of both.
I mean, Jaquez at the 4 really did not help Corey Kispert out early in the game.
No, he did not. He was
that key. Yeah, exactly. And it was. I think it was more of a matchup scenario, and then. I mean, Gonzaga just figured a way to win the game. I mean, it was suiting UCLA a little bit.
You know what's amazing too? What's amazing about this game is that there was no depth present at all in this game. UCLA had 6 bench points. Gonzaga had a total of 4. Like these were 2 starting 5s that played at such a high level. There were no holes in either 5-man rotation, and the minutes load here is just crazy in this game. but it had everything. And I'll tell you, free throws ended up being crucial. Gonzaga missed 8. They went 12 of 20 from the line. They're going to have to clean that up against Baylor. UCLA went 14 of 21. It just does not cease to amaze me of how good of the ball game this was. And anybody that's criticizing it, somebody said that was not a well-played defensive game. I disagree with that. I thought both teams schemed very well, but I thought that by the same token, both coaches found ways to get little wrinkles involved in the game to make changes. And you know what's also great? How many times, guys, has it become 1v1? Like this star's doing his thing, this star's doing his thing. Let's see who makes more plays. And sometimes one star does too much, and that's how the game ends. The other team loses. This game was, Suggs throws a punch. Nembhard throws a punch. Juzang throws one. Jaquez throws one. It just was so, so, so good. And if you're a college basketball fan or a casual sports fan, you can't watch that and not fall in love again, if you needed to, with this sport. It was beautiful in every way, shape, and form. And, I can't say enough about the efforts of these two teams on this type of stage in the season that's been as crappy as it's been. I only wonder what a full Lucas Oil Stadium would be like right now. Could you imagine the streets of Indianapolis? There wouldn't be 2 beers. There'd be people on their 12th and 13th beers.
It would be crazy.
Could I ask you guys a question?
Yeah.
Yes, you can, Dave. You can ask me whatever you want.
Thank you so much. What if you're Gonzaga? Excuse me. If you're Baylor, are you worried after watching this game, or if you're Gonzaga, are you worried? Like, which one do you think is more worried about who? Because before this game started, I'm not going to lie, watching the first half of Baylor, and then watching the game, be kind of close early, and then Baylor flex, and then the game was over. Basically, for the rest of the game, I would say Gonzaga had a lot to worry about, but then watching them put on that scoring display and watching how everybody played, I was kind of like, wow, like maybe, if Baylor can make shots, of course they made shots all year, it'll be interesting, but I just wonder, who has the most to worry about.
I'll just submit briefly and say, if Jared Butler plays to the level he did today, that has not been the Jared Butler we've seen before today. Yeah. Knowing Mitchell and Teague and the level they've been at, if Butler's playing at the All-American level we all know he can play at, then if I'm Gonzaga, we know if Gonzaga plays their A game, they're going to – I still believe they'll win the national title. But Jared Butler kind of unleashed the layer we've almost been waiting for from Baylor.
Yeah, he was amazing today.
Gonzaga should be a little bit more worried heading into Monday. I think Baylor feels damn good about themselves. I would.
See, I don't even think it's Butler as much as I think it was Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua. And here's why.
He is no MVP-ish.
What Baylor loves to do is to put people in ball screens. And part of the reason why they're so effective at putting people in ball screens is because they have those 4 guards that can shoot. One of them being Jared Butler, an All-American point guard and playmaker out of ball screens. The other one being Davion Mitchell, a guy who I think should be a top 10 pick as a playmaker and coming out of ball screens. Maceo T, another guy that's basically a point guard. Matthew Meyer, shot maker, right? Adam Flagler, a 40% three-point shooter. Like there's a reason why they shoot 42% from 3 and led the nation in three-point shooting. And what happens is they want to spread you out, right? They basically want to have 2 shooters on the weak side of the floor, a shooter in the corner, and a guy coming off a ball screen at the top of the key going to the right-hand side. And what happens is when you had Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua and they're setting the screens the way that he was and rolling the way that he was and being as much of a threat, that's what opened everything up, because all of a sudden Houston, their weak side taggers, had to go hard over to Tchamwa-Tchatchoua because he had a 12-foot jumper, he had a dunk, he was playing fantastic. And the fact that he was such a threat offensively completely messed up everything that Houston was doing on the weak side of the ball. And that pass from the guy coming off the ball screen, hitting to the far side corner. Davion Mitchell made 2 or 3 of them. Jared Butler made one of them. Jared Butler caught hit 2 threes off of it. That skip pass is what was wide open. And once that got going, then Houston didn't have a chance because you either had to tag to take away the dunk, or you let the 3-point shooter open, or you gave Tchamwa-Tchatchoua a dunk. So having Tchamwa-Tchatchoua that active, and look, he's not been good since they came out of the pause. I got a buddy who's a Baylor fan, and you know how his nickname is Everyday John?
Everyday John.
Yeah, he's been calling him any day now, John, since they came out of the pause because dude, he just hasn't been right.
He hasn't been right. Yeah, that's true.
He hasn't been right, and he came back and unbelievable, man. Like just they were so good.
They were.
Gonzaga was so good. I'm so fired up. Like I'm so happy. I'm so happy this is back. Let me ask you guys a question. Day, I don't know if you saw these games because you might have been overseas. So maybe it's a better question for Fanta. But Fanta, for my money, this is one of the 3 best off the top of my head. It's one, and people in the chat tell me if you got something better than this. But this is one of the 3 best games that I can remember seeing in the NCAA tournament ever.
Okay.
The 2016 national title game between UNC and Villanova would obviously be up there, and then the 2008 Elite Eight game between 2019 Elite Eight game between Purdue and Virginia, the one where Carson Edwards went off for 42 points and hit 10 threes. We had the Diakite shot at the end, like that game. So for my money, those are the 3 best games I've ever seen. How would you rank those, Fanta?
Wow.
And do you have anything that's better than either of those 3?
Okay, so I was going to submit the Memphis-Kansas national championship game. I forget what year that was.
2000, is that talking about like 7, 8?
2008.
2008. National title
game.
Yeah, Derrick Rose and Chalmers, I want to say.
Chalmers hit the shot to tie. Yep, you're right.
That's tie the game. That was an exceptional national championship game. We actually kind of forget the fact that the last national championship game played in the sport went to overtime and was a wild game between Virginia and Texas Tech, but it kind of gets lost because it was a rock fight. But by the same token, how would I rank those games?
Hold on. Let me just stop you real quick. It wasn't a rock fight. For the first 8 minutes, it was a rock fight. And I remember everybody was like, this is the worst college basketball game I've ever seen. And then it ended up being 75-75 on 65 possessions. Like the shot making down the stretch of that game was unbelievable.
Right.
I'm sorry, Fanta. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're right. And you know what? I'm guilty. I just call it a rock fight. And you reminded me of the shot making. It was beautiful down the stretch. Now, let's go back to it. You asked me to rank those 3, Rob, correct? I'll rank those 3. I will still maintain that a buzzer beater for the ship is number 1. You can't have that type of moment. And here's why. Marcus Page hit a shot that was truly absurd. Absurd. It wasn't like a lay-in like UCLA hit to tie the game at 90. Marcus Page hit an absolute prayer, double clutch, leg to the floor type of shot that any one of, not you, Da'Sean, that And then Nova has to answer that with Carolina fans throwing seat cushions, and the shot and the confetti guy being literally on cue like it was a Hollywood script. That's number 1. Number 2 for me is this game, and number 3 would be the Carson Edwards Diakite game. There are others. I thought Florida-Wisconsin a couple years back at Madison Square Garden was an unconsciously good college basketball game, but my lord, tonight it's gonna live here forever. Forever. I'm never going to forget this. Go submit the ticket now for Jalen Suggs. He's 19 freaking years old. He is 19 years old. I want him in the draft. I want him on my team. Give me Jalen Suggs, baby.
Big moment for Jalen Suggs tonight, man.
Big moment.
That was amazing.
We haven't talked about it. Da'Sean, what were you thinking when Jalen Suggs leaps into the air and blocks that shot and then goes like this?
That was the play of the game to me. Blocks the shot with the left hand. Court makes the dime to Drew Timme. Bounce pass across the court. Yeah, it was. I'm not gonna lie to you. That was just number 1 picture that I saw today.
Because
Rob was trying to
the crazy thing about it,
he's the number 1 pick.
Yeah,
in a sense, he's the number 1 pick, and it was blatant. It is blatant today. He's a gamer. He stepped up. He was big. I can never say anything negative about the young man. He went out there and played his ass off today.
The best thing about that shot is literally right before it. I was texting everybody. I was like, "What the fuck is Jalen Suggs doing? Leaving Johnny Juzang, who the strong side." Da'Sean, you're a coach, so back me up on this. If you have a guy on your team, right, and you're going up against a guy that hasn't missed a shot in 6 weeks, like Johnny Juzang. He throws the entry pass into the post. The dude guarding Johnny Juzang turns around and goes and doubles from the strong side, right, like that, and then kick it back out to Johnny Juzang, who hits a 3. What are you doing to that guy that went to double? He's done, right? Not only is he getting benched for the rest of this game, he's getting benched for the next game and the game after that and the game after that. Like, you don't do that. What the hell are you doing, Jalen?
Especially if that's not the practice. Especially if that's not what we practiced and stuff like that. Which I'm sure Few wasn't practicing that.
I guarantee Mark Few did not tell his team to ever double off the strong side when it's Johnny Juzang making an entry pass.
But the thing is, that happened so much. I wondered if that was the scouting report. That happened a lot for Johnny Juzang during this game, bro. Like, he got a lot of just step-in threes from the post because guys just decided to double strong side.
It makes no sense. I'll never understand it. I will never understand it.
By the way,
so, hey, we just had a comment question, Fanta. Someone wants to know if you're taking over for Bill de Blasio of Mayor of New York City. When's this happening?
Pizza for everybody. Pizza for everybody across New York City. I am officially submitting that I am running for mayor of NYC, and we are going to beat Jeff Goodman.
Hey, I got a stat for you. Are you ready for this? I got a stat for you.
Give it to us, baby.
I got a stat for you. There have only been 2 people in NCAA tournament history that have hit game-winning buzzer beaters that were deeper than the shot that Jalen Suggs hit tonight. U.S. Reed for, I believe it was Arkansas, and Paul Jesperson.
Yes, for Northern Iowa.
Yep. And by the way, for anybody listening, if you go back and listen to our 68 Shining Moments series, we have full interviews with both of those guys. We talked for 20 minutes about those shots with U.S. Reed and Paul Jefferson. So you should go listen to that. So this was the 3rd longest shot ever hit that was a game winner in the NCAA tournament. And, it just so happened to come in overtime in the Final Four to save an undefeated season. Just I can't believe it. I honestly cannot believe that we just saw that. I'm still fired up, guys. Like, I'm still ready to go. I'm loose. I'm sweating a little bit. You know what? I could go out there and I could make 25 minutes playing a little bit of pack line. Look, we can't run like Gonzaga runs because I'm not in good enough shape to do that. But if you want to let me play a little pack line, you want to let me get out there, space the floor, knock down some jumpers, I'm good to go. I'm ready. I'm ready. But hey, look.
I kind of help you guys.
Hey, Damon's ready to fire.
Oh my God. And just how good are Nance, Raftery, and Hill? They are just, Raft is the best. Always the best.
Raft is the man.
Yeah. It's the best. And you know it, Da'Sean. You've talked to Raft so many times before, like your big West Virginia games. Could you imagine Raft and Huggins at a bar together? Holy cow.
I couldn't imagine, actually. I feel like Raft is such a –
you have a good Raft story?
Would be awesome at a bar. No, I don't have too many. I don't have too many Raft stories. All I have is when I was in college, we had some media stuff to do. Me, Joe Mazzulla, who's the assistant coach with the Celtics, and another one of our teammates, and we had to do some interview stuff with Bill Raff and Jay Billis, and literally, a lot of night, I was like, I was kind of nervous. And then getting a chance to meet them, those guys were like extremely chill. Like, they were busting our balls and just making jokes. And we got to make some jokes with them. And we just had a good time. So, like, that was my first time just seeing Raph and seeing how cool he was and how easygoing he is, man. He's such a nice guy, man.
So I don't have any great Bill Raftery stories. Like, we've never hung out at the bar all late night. And, like, we've only met each other in passing. But I will say this. One of the first Final Fours that I ever went to, this was probably about 2011 or so. I remember I was at the hotel bar at the Marriott, whatever Marriott we were staying at. I think it wasn't in Houston, because they didn't put us on a Marriott in Houston. Where was the final? 2012. Was that in New Orleans? No, so it definitely wasn't New Orleans. Wherever it was. Anyway, so I'm at the media hotel. It's the Marriott bar, and it's late night, and we're closing it down. And they're kicking everybody out. They're turning the lights on this, and everybody's got to go. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. Then they're like, "Yeah, I just got a beer." They're like, "Yeah, you can take your beer with you." So I'm walking out. I got my beer in hand, and I'm walking out, and Bill Raftery walks in. I'm like, "Hey, man, they just closed the bar," and he walks by, and he's just like, "Not for me, they don't." I was like, "What a fucking legend!" Oh man, I've never been that jealous of anything in my life. He just walked. He owned the bar. Not for me, they don't.
They don't.
That's you, buddy. That's awesome.
Never wish I was that cool.
I got a story like that. I was at an event in Providence a couple years ago, and Raft is there, and there's a bunch of people there. And the hotel basically says, hey, we're closing up shop. It's like it was a weeknight too. Like, this is not even a Friday or Saturday night. And in Providence, Rhode Island, downtown Providence, the town shuts down on a weeknight at 10:30. Like, they're not going much past that. And Raph, he does something behind the bar. He takes a little walk to a bartender, gets in the ear of the bartender, and next thing you know, this guy bought everybody an extra 90 minutes at that establishment. I have never seen a more elated bar, and it's all because of Raph. And Raph just loves to have a good freaking time. So to your point, Rob, nobody closes for Bill Raftery, nor should they, because he's good for business. He's good for everybody. And you're right. The 2012 Final Four is where it will be next year in New Orleans. Could you imagine Bourbon Street had they just watched the game that we just all watched? Could you imagine Bourbon Street after this game? I just cannot get over it. Like, this is the type of game that leaves you all buzzing for hours. I'm going to have trouble going to sleep tonight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a couple questions in the chat I just wanted to mention. One guy asked, is Jay Billis a good guy? Yes, I've never had a bad interaction with Jay Billis. He's very, very nice, very friendly with his time. And when I was still doing, like, independent stuff, right at the peak of his, like, young Jeezy tweeting when he was, like, one of the biggest personalities ever, he was willing to come on a podcast that I ran for Ballin' Is a Habit. He came on a Ballin' Is a Habit podcast. So I like Jay. There's also, we have questions about John Rothstein. John, I don't think you'll find a single person that will say a negative thing about John Rothstein, the human being. John Rothstein, the Twitter account, like, I mean, he's got to do what he's got to do to make a living. I can't hate on him for the way he does his job. But John Rothstein, the human being, I challenge you to find somebody that thinks John Rothstein, the human being, is a bad person. There's not a negative thing about him.
No, he's
a good guy. John's a very much man. Tip, a lesson to everybody watching this: the best people in this industry are people that are not only great at their jobs. There's plenty of people who are good broadcasters or good writers or good journalists. Mm-hmm. They are genuinely down to earth people, just like you two guys are, and it's always a pleasure to work with you. And I'm not just saying that.
I don't know if Da'Sean's down to earth, man. He's a little cocky.
Shut up.
Post-game shows once in a while.
Stop spreading half rumors. Stop spreading half rumors about me.
I got a tweet from somebody just now after this game. This tells you how Twitter is, because there's always somebody. There's always that guy. Here we go. This is a guy named Rick H. Rick's Twitter account is at Hyde HYDE Cable Car. HYDE Cable Car. Rick has tweeted at me, the NCAA men's basketball tournament is the most overrated event in American sports, and each piled on unnecessary platitude about it proves that point. Okay, hold on a second. Let me tell you something, Rick. Rick, you need to be in church tomorrow at 8 a.m. I want you in a church at 8 a.m. tomorrow, and you pray. You get on your knees, and you pray to God for the sin you just committed. How dare you question the NCAA tournament after that instant classic we just lost? Have a happy Easter, and you better be watching Monday night, because if you aren't, get out. Get out. I have no time for you, Rick.
Just got scolded by Fanta, Rick. You just got scolded.
Man. So this is where we are right now. This is where we are in life. This is where we are.
I love Fanta's energy right now, mind you. I love Fanta's energy. Unmatched.
Take yourself to church, young man. Do not say that at our faces. What holds a candle to that? What event in American sports?
Nothing. Because here's the thing about the NCAA tournament that makes it so great is you have 67 games that are game sevens, right? Like I love the NBA playoffs. I love the trying to figure out what coaches are going to do to change certain matches. I love the 7-game series and the fact that you're almost always going to have the best team winning, right? I love watching like the adjustments that teams make and the little tweaks that they make from game to game to game and who are the coaches that can find like just little edges and little inefficiencies that they can exploit to be able to win a game and get themselves to like a game 6 or a game 7. But at the end of the day, like for the most part, we know who's going to win the NBA games and we know who's going to get to the finals. And we're just waiting to see that one matchup between like I don't know, like the Lakers in Brooklyn or the Warriors and the Cavs, whatever it is. We're just waiting to get to that final series. And in the NCAA tournament, like it's never going to be the same quality of basketball as the NBA is. But if you can embrace it for the fact that it's like the drama is unbelievable, you have kids that are playing for like their school and the fact that this might be the last time that they ever play. If you can embrace the storylines of the underdogs and things like that, and understand that like every single game is a game 7, there's nothing like it. And I don't understand the people that can do it, right? It's not like, look, the NBA is awesome. The level of play in the NBA is unbelievable. The talent that we have in the NBA today is unlike anything that we've ever seen. I don't like the greats, other than like maybe Shaq and Scottie. Like there's a handful of greats that would be stars in today's NBA, but a lot of guys wouldn't be able to do it because the level of play is so unbelievable. That said, the event and the theater that we get out of the NCAA tournament is unmatched by anything in sports on this planet. And I'll die if I need to stand on a hill and die on a hill. That's the hill that I'm going to die on. There's no theater that's better than the NCAA tournament. It's not the greatest sport. It's not the greatest gameplay. Maybe it's not the best product. Maybe there's too many timeouts. There's too many motherfucking charges, and it drives me crazy. But the drama and the theater and the show there is nothing like it. Now,
too many charges for sure.
The actors and the stars can be properly compensated for their efforts. Then maybe we'll get to a point where it's a perfect product. It's not perfect yet. Too many charges and too many amateurs. We're almost there. We're almost there. So what do you? Let's talk about that charge at the end of the.
I was going to say, in college basketball, I'll die on this hill too. Never advance the ball, because by taking it the full court, you get moments like this. And you know what? Even if he didn't make the shot, we would have gotten 5 more minutes of this stuff. I'm all in favor of having to take the ball the length of the court. I know there's some people who think I'm an idiot and who want to advance the ball on a timeout. You would have never had Chris Jenkins, and you surely wouldn't have had Jalen Suggs tonight. Give me full court basketball. Even if you call a timeout, you got to inbound your backcourt. You got to earn it. I don't like advancing the ball. I know I might be a clown, but I love the full court action, and I'm always going to be for it. It's provided moments like this one.
Yeah, the moment was dope. And that if a timeout was called for that, it would have took away from the entire moment. So, yeah, I'm with you.
Hey, sure. Shout out to Dixon Hariz. He's the biggest Zags fan Jamie knows. Shout out to you, Dixon. The Zags are going to the national title game, 1 away from 32-0. Do we have a line from Bet River Sportsbook for the Gonzaga-Baylor championship game?
Yes, we do. From Ben Rivers. How about this? Are you ready for this? I want to guess on what the line is. What do you guys think the line is?
I'm going to guess Gonzaga.
Throw it up in the chat too if you got it. What do you got?
Okay, my guess is Gonzaga -3.5.
Day?
I got Baylor -5.
Baylor -5 is what you think the line is? No, that's the other way. It's Gonzaga 4.5.
All right, cool. That's the other way. See, I'm off. I didn't know. I was guessing. Completely guessing.
Yeah, you had it backwards. It's,
all right, cool.
Rivers right now has it at Gonzaga -4.5. And the total, how about this? The total is 160. 160.
Oh, I like the over.
That's high. I'm going to bet the. You have to bet the over when you do. You have to bet the over. I do want to ask you guys though. So, I saw a lot of people kind of ranting and raving about the charge call at the end, Drew Timme, when he took the charge against Johnny Juzang. How do you guys feel about that? Because I have an opinion, and I could go on a rant on this, but I want to give you guys the floor first because I feel like I've been ranting a lot on this. So, Dave, why don't you start? Did you think that was a charge? Do you have a problem with the call? Was it the right play? Where are you at on that?
It was nothing else the referee could have called. I mean, if he had not called it, it was too much contact to not make a call, and it wasn't a block because he was there. He waited for him, and he made the case of waiting for him like extremely far outside of the charge circle. So he had enough time. Juzang had enough time to get the ball out of his hands. He didn't. Kind of like lowered his shoulder a little bit toward the end, and it might not have been like the absolute best charge call, but it was a charge though. So
yeah, I agree. I saw some people saying that complaining about how he has too many charges in college basketball and how it was a wrong call and this, that, and the third. And they're like, look, we have too many charges in college basketball, but I'm not going to complain about the one where Drew Timme is standing there for like a full 2 seconds.
2 seconds, yeah.
Like just runs right into him, right? Yeah. There's the issue with the charge call is when the help defender can slide underneath and take somebody's legs out and make it dangerous. And I don't think that this was that play. I don't like at all. I don't even think it was like.
I've seen so many.
Man.
I've seen so many other charges that have been called on the side of people, and that one was a clear charge to me. I mean, regardless of what anybody else said, I mean, just watching the play, he stood there for a legit 2 or 3 seconds before he ran him over. Even if he tried to sidestep him, it didn't matter. Like he still got him with his shoulder, and it was a charge. Like
it's a charge. What I don't understand is why you have Johnny Juzang, king of the mid range, right? King of the mid range. He hasn't missed a mid range shot since 2020, right? Why don't you pull up from 8 feet right there? You got Suggs on your hip, right? You're 6'7". Why don't you just pull up from the mid range, hit a little 8-foot floater right there, right? That's why you got that in your game. That's why you got the midi in your package, eh?
Man, he didn't want it. He wanted to use your shot.
Anything like Da'Sean Butler, you're going to pull up with that shot. You're going to double clutch. You're going to throw all the way in the air. It's going to hit the front of the rim. It's going to hit the top of the backboard, and it's going to bounce in because that's how you do your game winners, right?
That dude couldn't get on the floor at Kentucky.
Right?
Insane.
Right? What?
Insane.
Kentucky and
look at both of the guys.
Davion.
Look at both of guys transfer.
Sorry, come on, man. Like, come on, man. This is. I'm just telling you right now. If there's anything that this sport's teaching us right now, Blue Blood's got to adapt, man. You know, Duke's got some things to work on. Kentucky surely does. UNC's going to get a new coach. Man, but you know what the conclusion is? My conclusion tonight, in addition to everything, if you were wondering before tonight if this UCLA run was sort of fluky or a one-hit wonder, it's not. UCLA is back.
Yeah, that was a good team.
They're back.
Brown's doing a great job.
I think a lot of it is going to depend on who stays and who goes for them. Because I think that both Juzang and Jaquez played their way into at the very least, the NBA draft conversation. Like I think Jaquez is a surefire NBA player. I don't know if he's a guy that would be drafted this year if he came out. I think Johnny Juzang is the kind of shot maker that you look for in the NBA. I don't know if he does enough of the other stuff well enough to be able to survive in the league. But when you got a guy that can shoot like that and that can create out of isolation like that and against closeouts like that, at that size, I think he's a guy that can play in the NBA.
No, for sure.
So the question is going to be, do they come back? Because if they come back, right, and you let this team run it back, because I mean, do they have a senior? I think Cody Riley's a senior, right? And then that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, if they run it back with this squad like that,
I'm taking a look right now.
That's really a good team. Yeah,
that could be a good team because they already have that chemistry toward the end of the season to build on for next year. Like that'd be one of the harder teams to run into.
They only have one senior. You're right, and you know what? It's Chris Smith who went down. Cody Riley's actually a junior.
He's only. How is Cody Riley only? Maybe
he comes back. I'm not gonna
remember hearing about that kid when he was like a freshman from people on the West Coast. But if like Cody Riley and Mark Vital both feel like they've been in school for 87 years, right? Like
Cody Riley's a bucket.
I'm pretty sure that Mark Vital was a freshman the same year that Anthony Davis was a freshman.
I'm just laughing at Basil, who like Rob Dauster. Only you would definitely appreciate this.
Oh, I saw it.
UCLA is back. I don't know. Can we flash that up? This is
hell yeah, we'll flash it. That's my guy Basil. That's my guy right there.
Because of
freaking course.
Yeah.
There is not.
Who screenshotted that? Who screenshotted that? Was that you, Fanta?
Man.
Yeah.
And
all right.
Let's come back. Anybody could come back because this was a free year. But yeah, they don't have a senior.
All right. So let's talk about. Oh yeah, that's right. He was the guy that stole the shit with LiAngelo, didn't he?
Yes.
China. That's right. He's grown up though. Look, he's grown up, man. He's grown up.
Looks like it. Looks like it.
He's grown up. Give him credit because he's grown up. All right, Fan, I'm going to tweet that picture of you with the glasses down, screaming.
Oh, yeah. Wait, hold on a second. Mark just said UCLA played the best they could possibly play. They lose 10 out of 10 times to Gonzaga. They lucked out the whole game. They did not luck out. You don't play that type of game and find yourself lucky. And the whole run wasn't lucky. Get out of here with that. I hate that take when people are like, they got lucky. Well, look, basketball's a make or miss and sometimes a lucky game. UCLA wasn't lucky tonight. They put together every piece they could have. They went punch for punch with one of the great teams in college basketball history. Don't talk to me about luck.
Yeah. There was no luck involved with this. Man. That was a great game, right?
They had a hard time guarding friggin' Tiger and Jaquez and all. They couldn't guard any of them. It was very difficult for them to stay in front of them. So it was nothing to do with luck. They were getting buckets. They scored 90 points.
Yeah, that was a great basketball game. That was an incredibly well played basketball game by both of the teams that played in it. All right, so let's talk about this national title game because this is the game we all wanted, man. Like that's the best part about this is that not only did we have this unbelievable game in the Final Four, but it means that we still have a shot at getting an undefeated national champion. And we still get Gonzaga Baylor, which is what we've all been pining for since like the second week of the season. We've been waiting 4 months for this. 4 months. And we got it. It's here. We're ready to go. So, Dave, why don't you start off? What do you think is going to be the key to this matchup, and what are you looking forward to the most out of this game?
Looking forward to the most, I would say, I wonder how Baylor's going to get any interior scoring. Unlike UCLA, I mean, Cody Riley was like so dominant that they had to double him. I don't see that being the case for anybody on Baylor being double teamed. The thing I would say that Baylor has in this advantage is that the way the bench played today, where their guys came off the bench and just got instant buckets once they stepped into the game, is kind of something I feel they'd have the advantage over Gonzaga with. Now, Gonzaga's bench is definitely good, but Baylor is just, I kind of feel like they're a little too deep. They shoot the ball very well from the perimeter. They're going to get their guards going to get into Gonzaga's guards, similar to how Suggs gets into other guards. The Suggs is going to have it done to him a little bit this game because I can't foresee that they put anybody else on Suggs except for Davion Mitchell. Like I don't foresee anybody else guarding him. And I just think it'll be a lot for Gonzaga.
What's that going to be, by the way?
That's going to be a lot.
It's
gonna be a lot of fun, man. I'm excited, like just to see those because we talked about this before. Like Davion Mitchell is like extremely strong and explosive, but like just watching Suggs just like jump right out of us, like from the standstill to like heading downhill is like I can't even explain it. He's just a sick athlete. Like Suggs is an amazing athlete, so I can't wait to see what that looks like.
Neither of them are human. I'm gonna have to see birth certificates to prove that both of those guys are human beings, how athletic they are. All right, Fanta, what's the key matchup in this game, and how do you see that matchup playing out?
Okay, I will give you my key matchup, and then I'm going to send everybody through a brick wall. My key matchup is Jonathan Chamois Chachua against Drew Timme. I'm going to spring off Rob's point, and I'm going to bring it up here. Chamois Chachua's physicality and his ability to make Houston's defensive scheme really get thrown off, opening up weak side shooters. We all know that the guards in this game for Gonzaga and Baylor are going to be able to negate each other to a degree. But the biggest question in this tournament has been, can anybody on God's green earth find an answer for the man with the mustache, Drew Timme? And for 40 minutes tonight, UCLA did a fairly good job of it. But at the start of overtime, Mark Few said we're going to switch or we're going to make you keep switching and we're going to get Timme on an island with either Jaquez or Juzang or somebody that's in a mismatch on him. Well, you know what? It ended up working. He used footwork. He used technique. But Chamois Chachua can be the guy that establishes the physicality of this game and makes it Baylor's game physically. He has got to stay out of foul trouble. They're going to need him to play big minutes. They're going to need him to really lock up on Timme and lock up on Gonzaga on the interior. That is my key matchup. But right now I'm going to have everybody get ready to run through a brick wall, and here is why. Gonzaga, Baylor, Monday night, Indianapolis. This is the first time since 2005 that the top 2 seeds in the NCAA tournament will meet in the title game. Last time it was North Carolina and Illinois. And it is the first time since 2001. 2001. It's been 20 years since we have had the top 2 teams in the preseason poll meet for the championship. These 2 teams, over the last 2 years, are a combined 115 wins to 8 losses. 115 and 8. This is Ali Frazier. This for the ages. Zag, Monday, get your wings, grab your beer. This is college basketball on the biggest of stages for a national champion.
I'm ready, Fanta.
Let's go.
I'm so fired up, man. I cannot wait.
Man.
I'm fired up. Gonzaga Baylor Monday night.
No, it's gonna be an amazing game.
Oh, Fanta.
Oh man.
How do I follow it up? How do I follow it up, Fanta?
Mic drop, for real. Mic drop.
Oh, Sam, you missed it. You missed it, man. You missed it. Fanta's shirt almost came off. Oh, he had us ready to run through a wall.
I got some real questions. How? Why? What? Like what happened here, Fanta?
I just got so excited about this, Sam. What a game. It's everything the tournament is about, man. I was jumping. I'm sure we all were jumping. I still cannot believe what we just watched. Like, we are an hour after this epic title game, or epic, it felt like a title game, epic Final Four game. And just the back and forth nature of this. Pete, I'm sorry, wants me to leave me thanks to you. Pete, we can go to counseling together.
Just when we thought Fanta was a great guy, he's out here breaking up marriages.
On Easter Sunday.
On Easter Sunday of all days.
Easter Sunday, breaking up marriages.
Yeah, what is Sam Vecini's instant reaction to this?
Oh, I mean, I jumped up off the couch and screamed Jalen Suggs' name. It was unbelievable. I think that is the best tournament game I've ever seen. I was sitting right in front of Chris Jenkins, courtside, right when he hit the shot, right, to beat North Carolina. I thought that would never be topped, just in terms of my reaction. But holy shit, it was from top to bottom. The game was just unbelievable. How efficient both teams were. I mean, North Carolina or UCLA kept hitting just fucking bullshit mid-range contested shots like it was their job. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was an incredible game. I'm stunned by what we just saw.
It was great. It was awesome. That was the best theater and the best drama that I can remember for a game in a long time. I would put 2019 Virginia against Purdue in that same conversation. The one when Carson Edwards went for 700 points and Mamadi Diakite had that shot at the buzzer, and Virginia somehow in a game that they never really led in regulation found a way to cover in overtime. Still bitter about that one, by the way, FYI. So Sam, we were just kind of rolling through this. Talk me through a little bit what you see from this national title game. What do you think the key matchup is going to be? How do you think this ends up playing out? And where do you think how do you think it ends up? Who wins?
Yeah, this is kind of a sneaky thing that I've been thinking about just in the last hour or so since it ended. But Baylor over the last 2 games against Arkansas and against Houston today got the 2 best games that they've gotten from Everyday John. Basically since early December, maybe early January, since the Everyday John profiles were being written and everyone was super fucking excited or whatever, right? He's been not great since then, but over the last 2 games, he's been really, really good. And that's incredibly important for them as they set up to match up against Drew Timme inside.
Yeah, no, we talked about that and the importance of slowing down Timme. I really thought that the way, and Sam, you made this point on Twitter too. I saw that the way that they were able to use John to kind of open up shooters, like with his roles of the basket, like that changes everything for what they want to do. Because like Flo Thamba, he has a great name, but he's just kind of he's just a guy out there, right? Like he's not really a threat. Yeah. And Mark Vital, as good as he is defensively, if you have him being someone that is kind of the guy making plays for you at the 5, like that's kind of what you want a little bit as a defense, right? But I just think like when you have a dude, he's so energetic, he runs so hard, everyday John, and no one's going to jump at him. You give him a lane, no one's going to jump at him at the rim. So I just think that when he's playing the way that he did today, it changes everything for what they're looking for.
Well, the big thing is too that we're going to get this Jalen Suggs, Davion Mitchell matchup, right? And everyone's really pumped about seeing Davion try to shut down Jalen Suggs on the offensive end. I'm actually really pumped about the other side of the floor because Jalen Suggs, I mean, we saw it today against Johnny Juzang. We saw it in their previous game. Jalen Suggs, when he's engaged and really wants to shut you down on defense, he's a really good on-ball defender. Yeah. And if he can shut down Davion Mitchell and kind of close off some of those passing lanes for Mitchell and stop him from, getting those clean looks that he got today because Houston's defense was just way over aggressive. That cross corner kick out was there every single time for Davion Mitchell. I just don't see as much open space for Baylor to be able to dominate in the way they did from a shooting perspective today.
When you say shut down, what do you mean? Because I mean, Johnny Juzang, I don't think he got shut down today.
Boy, they put him on him in the second half.
The second half,
slowed him down in the second half.
Yeah, he definitely had his part of slowing him down. But I just look at him as a whole of shutting them down for the entirety of the game. And then I look back at the Creighton game as well with the shutting down. I mean, they beat the brakes off of Creighton, but still, like the shutting down, I kind of feel like initially it takes Suggs a little bit longer to get accustomed to the guard he's guarding. Like he picks it up and he finds what he needs to do later on as the game goes along. But early on, I mean, these point guards actually start torching. They just get worn down, I kind of think, more or less.
Well, they started him on Tiger today, and I thought he did a pretty good job early on Tiger, too. But the thing for me is he doesn't really even need to shut down Davion Mitchell. He just needs to cut off the passing lanes, I think. Yep. He needs to be able to get back in front, fight through the screen, and just make himself big so that cross-corner kick isn't necessarily there. So that the jump easy. Off to everyday John isn't there. So that's what I mean by shut down. But, I don't think anybody's going to shut down Davion Mitchell. I think he's just got to close off certain angles so that he can't take as big of an advantage as a passer.
Yeah, and then the other thing is this, to your point about keeping the passing lanes from opening up for Baylor, the reason why Baylor has looked as sharp as they have here the last couple of games, you talk about everyday John, but how about the fact that entering this game today, Jared Butler had been 6 for 24 from beyond the three-point arc on the NCAA tournament, and he starts 5 of 6. It's a make-or-miss game. I know that's simplified, but you know what? Those passes are coming from Davion. They've got to be completed with Maceo Teague, who's hit shots. But Jared Butler, if that Jared Butler is going on Monday, we don't talk about him off the top because of how impressive Jalen Suggs has been and how dominant Drew Timme has been. But can we talk a little bit more about Joel Ayayi and just how good he is in this tournament? I know maybe he's not the playmaker that a Jalen Suggs is, but you know what? In order to be the beneficiary, you better knock down shots time and time again. And Joel Ayayi from the start of the Creighton game to tonight, and Nembhard, for me, where this game gets decided potentially by numbers and just in nature is if those passing lanes are open for either Suggs or Mitchell, are the beneficiaries of those passing lanes, Maceo Teague and Jared Butler for Baylor, Joel Ayayi and Andrew Nembhard for Gonzaga, are they knocking down perimeter shots? Because if they are, both offenses turn from where they are to even another level. And Ayayi, to me, has been such a constant in the scoring column. You could have great playmakers, but remember we were watching Cade Cunningham march Oklahoma State up and down, and nobody is helping this guy out. For me, Ayayi is the ultimate hey, I am going to cash in on you, Jalen Suggs or Andrew Nembhard, and I'm going to hit this big-time shot. And he's hit them time and time again in this tournament.
Shit, he had 13 out of 23 at their points initially. Like he was, and without a miss, he was phenomenal to start the game off today.
Yeah, he started 7 for 7, I think it was. It was unbelievable.
Crazy.
Yeah, the thing for me, I didn't really notice what Gonzaga was doing in terms of how hard they were tagging onto rollers versus how hard they were staying attached to shooters for UCLA in this game. Like, to me, that's like the number one thing. Like, are we going to get situations where Jalen Suggs is going to, like, decide to double team someone in the post like he did at the end of this game, giving Jaime Jaquez, if I remember, was it Jaquez or Juzang that got the wide open three from the corner late in the game? Like, are we going to get
it was Juzang. It was Juzang. I ranted about that already, Sam.
Did you? Yeah. Are we going to get an over-aggressive Gonzaga situation where they're helping on to the rollers and helping onto the post and then leave these shooters wide open, or is Gonzaga going to stay at home on the shooters? It's honestly, it's an incredibly difficult call because if Everyday John is playing as well as he is and rolling as hard as he is to the basket, like I feel like you have to at least give him some respect in some regard, just because he's going to be right next to the rim. Like
the one thing that well, I was just going to say the one thing that Gonzaga did really well today was just having Timmy hard hedge and basically blitz the ball handlers and try to get it out of their hands. I don't know if you can necessarily do that against Davion Mitchell without getting Timmy into foul trouble right away. And I also think that might have just been like a game plan specific thing for UCLA because they're not really a great ball screen team. They're really just trying to get the matchups they want and get isolations, whether it's Johnny Juzang or Jaquez or Cody Riley in the post. But that was an interesting wrinkle. I didn't expect Timmy to be blitzing ball screens the way that they did.
Yeah, they had him ruffled. But question though, do you think that this will be that difficult for Baylor? Like as far as like what they're going to do in their ball screen offense versus Gonzaga? I feel like seeing Davion Mitchell and then seeing Drew Timme there as any coverage is like, I feel like Baylor wants that. Or if it's whoever, it could be Jared Butler, it could be whoever. I just feel like the guard scenario in comparison to their bigs, like Baylor's bigs can defend it, and if Everyday John can defend it, then they have Vital there to defend it, and they still have Thom, but they have a lot of people. Mayer, it can sometimes put us positions, but I feel like on the other end, they don't have that many. They don't have much of a leash when it comes to ball screen coverage, which is why I see where you're saying that it's important for Suggs to make sure he gets back and get into the lane, because any four of the guards that Baylor have, the really good guards, I can't see Drew Timme stopping them from getting anywhere on the floor in their coverage.
Yeah, totally. And then, kind of what Rob was saying too, one thing that UCLA did in terms of an adjustment was they started using Johnny Juzang as a screener at times early in the first half. Yeah. And it wouldn't surprise me if Corey Kispert's going to have to guard one of these four guards probably. And my guess is what Baylor is going to do is they're going to try and get Kispert in space. They're going to try and get Drew Timme in space, obviously. And if I was Baylor, I would just keep running Kispert. I would keep running screens with Kispert's guy, and I would force him to defend. And
screens though, would you do screens? Because I looked at Jaquez today. He didn't need a screen. It was like straight line drives. Like it wasn't much screening. It was just like right to left and straight line drives.
You know what? You can run slip exchanges. You can do a whole lot of different stuff, but I'd be running a lot of different ball screen exchange or, different sort of looks involving Kispert's man where he's coming up and being forced to at least make some sort of communication defensively to where they have to do something.
Because then here's the other thing. When they have to do something at a certain point, like you just said with Jaquez, whether it be a screen or not, that action alone is going to apply pressure towards the rim.
Exactly.
And so even if Baylor doesn't get a great result at the rim, they certainly have the guys from beyond the arc to make Gonzaga pay for that. And what you're going to have happen is that puts pressure on Kispert, which then, if we're going towards the rim, puts some additional pressure on Timme, and that might open it up further for Baylor. So I think there's a ton. I said this, Sam and Da'Sean, I said this early in the pod tonight. Like, there is no one that had a better day besides Jalen Suggs than Scott Drew, who got to sit back after a really non-stress win from tip to buzzer, and now gets to watch this game, see these teams go punch for punch in overtime, and really gets a look at, hey, how do I hang in? In the event that Gonzaga scores 93 points, like they did tonight, like we were saying earlier, if I had told you before the game Gonzaga's going to score 93, anybody would have said, Gonzaga's going to win the game then. UCLA's not going to beat Gonzaga. Well, UCLA put up 90 points. Tonight is just a great blueprint in every way, shape, and form ahead of a national title game. It shows the greatness of Gonzaga. It shows it of UCLA. But I think it says to Baylor, here's how we need to go about things on the offensive end of the floor, because I think people say all the time in this tournament, and rightly so, how is anybody going to keep up with Gonzaga's offense when Gonzaga's offense is churning that well? Well, tonight UCLA gave us a blueprint of how you can do it.
See, that's where I actually disagree, Fanta, because I think I think Baylor's going to do what they do. I think UCLA tried to tailor their game plan to trying to slow down Gonzaga, but Baylor's going to be like, fuck that. Like, we're Baylor, you know? Like, we if we didn't have a COVID pause, we would be undefeated right now. And I think that they're just going to do what they do, which means they're going to get out in pressure. They're going to attack the offensive glass, and they're going to run. They're not going to be afraid of Gonzaga's transition game, because they're basically going to say, if we score, you're not going to be able to run on us. So I expect this game to be like in the 90s.
Here's a good question for you. Do you think Baylor attacks the offensive glass as heavy as they typically do in this game, or do they kind of respect Gonzaga's transition approach a little bit more and maybe send some guys back into transition defense a little bit more?
Send three. They're sending three.
Yeah, I think they're going to do what they do.
If they do what they do, I don't know. I'm not sure if I like Gonzaga if Baylor does what they do. I mean that. I do. I do think that they have to adapt some things to beat Gonzaga. I do. Yeah. I think Gonzaga's earned that right. Like, that's just sure. So maybe agree to disagree on this. I get Gonzaga's or I get Baylor's FU attitude, but like, I do think there's certain things that you don't want to play into Gonzaga's hands, and some of the things Baylor does can play into their hands a little bit. I'm just saying.
That's why I say that him sitting here watching the games today, like you were saying, Fanta, he can't really mimic much of what UCLA did, because UCLA, obviously their two wings are, as far as ball dominant, and they could score one-on-one, but they also had Cody Riley also, who can score the ball in the post, and they needed to require a double team. As much as I love Everyday John, it's going to be almost like Christian Bishop. It's going to be ball screens and rolls to the basket. It's not going to be giving the ball in the block and make him figure it out. It's not going to be that way for Mark Vital either, or whoever else are going to have to play the foul. The only other person I would think that can figure out from the post, and he'll probably figure out for more of a jump shot, would be Mayer. And then after that, it'll be perimeter dominant. And some of those guys in the perimeter, I would think Butler, who's a hell of a scorer, but also he needs that ball screen, because he's not going to just blow by as many people because of athletically. So
I guess heading into Monday, it's not that I'm sitting here and saying Scott Drew needs to do what Mick Cronin did. It's not.
No, I understand. I was just thinking they don't have the personnel to do it. Period. I just feel like they would have to do their own thing. Like, they would have to play like Baylor, because they couldn't even mimic that, because they don't have the pieces to do so. They just have those guard pieces that are great.
Look.
And honestly, like, doing what they do, I think is a good matchup for them against Gonzaga. Like, I think that they are going to cause Gonzaga problems on the defensive end. Like, their offense, I think, is going to, like, wreck, to be honest. Like, I think they are going to score points on Gonzaga. It's just whether or not Gonzaga can score enough to keep up. And look, this is one of the best offenses that I've seen in college basketball, Gonzaga's offense. Like, I think it's an unbelievable group, but I don't know. Like, I think that Baylor has a good matchup in this game.
But here's the thing. I don't think that there is, as much as we were just talking and raving about Everyday John, even Flo Thamba, like, I don't think that Baylor has anything close to a good matchup for Timmy.
No.
Like, Timmy might fuck around and get 40. Yeah. in the national.
You think everyday John is good, could give up 40 to 10 to Drew? Not 40. I mean, obviously, like you think he'd give up a good amount.
Well, okay, so 40 might have been like
not 40. Obviously, I knew what you were saying. It's like you think he can get like 15 plus.
Are you suggesting that Gonzaga may have to slow tempo in this game and keep feeding Timmy?
No. I think what's going to happen is they're going to run. I think you want to beat Baylor's defense down the floor. Because I think what's going to happen is Baylor's going to send 2 and 3 guys to the glass. So anytime that you get an off defensive rebound, you're going to be able to like hit an outlet guy and go. You're going to be able to grab and go if you're Joel Ayayi or Andrew Nembhard. You're going to be able to grab and go if you're Jalen Suggs. So I would expect Drew Timme to get at least 4 to 5 buckets in transition because he's going to run the floor better than anybody else on the court. I expect him to get at least 15 to 20 post touches. Whether or not he scores all of them, who knows? But I don't think that Baylor has a good option for him, right? I don't think that they have a good answer. Even a guy like Mark Vital, so much of what he does is based off of the leverage and his ability to kind of wedge you out because he is so low and is so strong. But I don't think that works on Timme because he's so slippery and he's so good at changing the angle of his seals and changing the angle of his post-ups. Like it's his footwork and his understanding of how he needs to angle his body to create the lane for him to get a pass that leads him straight into a layup where all he has to do is catch it and go up. I don't know if you can teach that. I think that he just figured it out and knows how to do it. It's unbelievable watching him.
I think everyday John do a good job defensively on Timme. It's just that he won't be able to make Timme exert himself defensively. I don't think he'll be able to get a bucket out of him unless someone else gets him the ball. So at the end of the day, Drew Timme will win in that regard because he'll have a break almost, not to disrespect every day, but just he'll have a break defensively and then be able to just focus offensively on the game. I think Gonzaga will have a hard time guarding their guards, though.
Yeah, I think the issue with Timme defensively is going to be what happens. It's just the ball screen stuff, like figuring out how you're going to deal with that. Especially like with the way that Davion has been playing, like out of the ball screens, like you can't switch it because you can't stay in front of him for Timme. He's so good at driving right and finding that weak side corner pass, so you can't like string out the ball screen and hedge and not hedge and tag with the weak side corner because that's not going to work. He's so good at finding that pass. I wonder if what you do is you tag with the high man, like double team him, tag with the high man, and then dare him to throw like the hook pass over his head to the opposite wing. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
He can do that too easily though. Like
but you won't get anything out of that. I feel like because what you're gonna have the big crashing into their guards. Like,
here's the thing: I don't know what you do. Like, I don't know how you stop this Baylor offense. Like, I don't know.
Here would be
how do you stop this Gonzaga offense?
That's a great question. Which is why we're betting the over, Fanta.
I'll go on record right now.
We're betting the over.
Okay, here's what I'll say. I'm going to say this right now. I thought Baylor was world beaters today and came out and played their best offensive game maybe of the tournament. I know that they also scored 81 against Arkansas. They scored 78 today. I just thought from a start of the game perspective, they could not have been firing on all cylinders more offensively than they were against Houston today. I will say this, though. I don't know if – and I could be dead wrong about this. I don't know if I don't see Baylor's half-court offense being any better than what it was today against Houston on Monday. I mean, I trust them, and I think they have the ability. Sam, you brought that up. There's no question you like this Baylor offense, and I do too. I'll go on record and say I believe in Mark Few's ability to get Gonzaga to certainly – he's going to motivate this group and say, look, you gave up 90 to UCLA. You play defense like that on Monday, we are going to lose. I expect a better defensive performance by Gonzaga on Monday. I do worry about their ball screen coverage, and I do worry about Baylor's speed. But I just have a gut feeling that Baylor will not be as effective on the offensive end of the floor as they were tonight, even as they have been in their last two games. I still trust Gonzaga more, and I got to say, it sounds like you guys are starting to lean towards Baylor in this national title game. I'm not going there.
Well, the thing is, I don't think Houston is Gonzaga by any means, but Houston was one of the best defensive teams, if not the best defensive team in the country. For a good bit,
he dropped a was
because they just lost. So
R.I.P. Houston.
But Houston didn't have any problems. Like I felt defensively at a certain point, but Gonzaga literally, Houston shot terrible, and sooner or later they just ran out of gas against Baylor. Baylor shot absolutely unconscious. They're shooting 50% before halftime. They're freaking killing them on the glass. A team that's known for their defense and known for how well they do on rebounds. Baylor is literally beat them at their own game. Granted, that's Baylor's game as well. And if I look at Gonzaga in comparison to Houston, yes, offensively, light years better than Houston. But their guards are susceptible to really not be able to stay in front of Baylor's guards. At certain times, obviously you're going to have to worry about Vital being out there at a 4 initially. But then if they move Vital to the 5 and bring Mayer, or if they want to play completely small and bring Flagler, I really don't see, besides them losing height in a sense, I really don't see how Gonzaga guards their guards. And I kind of feel like Baylor has a little bit more to bring on the floor than Gonzaga has. Today, Gonzaga played a lot more of their bench in the first half because they needed to. But I didn't see most of those guys in the second half. They didn't play.
If you're Gonzaga,
you're getting underestimated.
I guess, I'm just trying to figure out what I think they're going to do. Do you try to maybe use Suggs to play denial on Mitchell to try and keep the ball out of his hands, and then play aggressive, super hyper aggressive ball screen coverages, and they pulled out that 1-2-2 light press earlier? Do you try and do that to speed them up? I think their best chance is to try and force turnovers and to try and get these pick six opportunities that they are really good at creating. And Baylor's been middle of the pack this year defensively or offensively in terms of turnovers. They're okay. They don't necessarily take care of the ball at an exceptionally high level. But I mean, I feel like they're just too athletic. I feel like Baylor's too athletic to do that. That's just begging to get beat down the court. I don't know what Gonzaga's going to do. I think it's a really, really weird matchup for them.
And if you took your best player, and granted, Davion Mitchell's been playing great, but today, he had 12 points and 11 assists. If you take your best defender and just focus him on Davion Mitchell and just give Jared Butler the reins to just have the ball in his hand, and that's what Jared Butler has done before. He's had the ball in his hands and has come off ball screens and made plays. So it's all right, you're going to try to take Davion Mitchell out by possibly denying him or possibly doing anything else when there's also 3 other weapons on the court, not counting their bigs. It's just all right, we'll just stand Davion Mitchell in the corner if we wanted to and just have the same scenario where we can make you guys have to go into the paint, stop the roll, and then go ahead and play the drive. Or play the shot for Macy Teague and whoever else that's going to be out there, Flagler and these guys. I really don't see besides Gonzaga just being amazingly gifted offensively as a team because they're great, but I just don't see what they can do defensively to take Gonzaga out or take something away from Gonzaga unless Gonzaga just shoots the ball terrible.
So here's what I think I would do if I was Gonzaga.
You got Baylor winning this game, Day?
Yeah, man.
I
got Baylor. I know what you guys are doing, but I got Baylor, man.
I think I'm kind of talking myself into Baylor winning this game, and I don't like that's where I'm ending up. But it's the idea of Gonzaga being able to get enough stops to win the game, because my biggest issue is that if you can't get stops, you're not going to be able to get out in transition. And where Gonzaga is at their best is in the transition game. They're unstoppable if you can let them get out and run. And I think that what Baylor can do defensively can really mess with the things that Gonzaga wants to do in a half court, right? And when they provide the amount of ball pressure that they have, that's going to make it difficult to get the ball into Timmy. And that where I think you have your best advantage is going to be in the post. And so I don't know. I'm worried about it. I would be very worried about it if I was a Gonzaga fan. I'm going to be fascinated to see what Mark Few decides to do.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of with Da'Sean.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I kind of think Baylor has a very real specific matchup advantage here in a lot of ways with how small they're able to play. Adam Flagler is really good.
No, really
that's a real problem.
Yeah.
He's a real problem for Gonzaga.
Well, Baylor's one of the few teams that has more guard weapons than Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, let alone Baylor's 4 other guards that are better, or 3 other guards that are better than Adam Flagler. Like, it's
right.
It's a weird deal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, look, I'm gonna pick Gonzaga in this game. I understand the ideas about Gonzaga's issues with guarding Baylor. Baylor has a matchup edge. They have more speed there. I guess I'm looking at the way Baylor performed from beyond the 3-point arc. I don't know if that – I don't see the same thing happening on Monday, and I'm going to trust that Mark Few finds something. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's going under stuff a little bit and living with certain shots being taken by Baylor. I'm curious to see. Look, to your guys' point, like Drew Timme, there hasn't been an answer for him, and I don't think Baylor has that answer. So that's why I alluded earlier, like for me, I understand the whole idea of you want to get up the court against Baylor and keep them out of their half-court defense. But there's also the element of if you know you've got an advantage in the paint with Timme, you're comfortable. You need to be comfortable, and they should be, and they will be, trying to exploit that when Baylor is in their half-court defense. They've got to hone in on that and keep on giving Timme touches. Rob threw out the 40 figure. But, Rob, we all know you weren't saying he's going to finish with 40 points. We're saying you have to treat it like that in your half-court offense approach.
Yeah. Well, listen. All right. I want official picks for every one of them. We're going to get out of here. Day, you got Baylor?
Yeah, I got Baylor, bro. I can't foresee them if Gonzaga starts switching and they get Corey Kispert on the perimeter with Davion Mitchell or Jared Butler or any. I don't foresee it going well. Like, they're not going to go to a mismatch in the post, similar to how, UCLA tried to do tonight, or similar to how UCLA tried to do tonight. They're going to go and use their guards to attack the mismatches, similar to how Baylor did against West Virginia and other teams like that. Like, they took the guards they felt, or the bigs they felt were mismatches defensively, and they just attacked the basket and went downhill, found other people, found guys on their team. And that's the mismatch that I feel like Baylor will go to. Sam,
where are you at?
Yeah, I'm basically with everything that Da'Sean just said. Like, I feel look, like I have a 9-1 future on Gonzaga, like that I bet in the preseason. So
you win either way.
No, like I'm as inclined to root for Gonzaga as much as anyone on this one, but. Yeah, I just think it's a really tough schematic matchup for them unless, like, the way that I see Gonzaga winning is if they're able to force a lot of turnovers and they're able to take advantage of Baylor crashing 3 guys to the glass and creating transition opportunities off of missed rebounds or off of missed shots and defensive rebounds. Do I think that will happen? No, I don't. Unfortunately, I think that Baylor's offense is going to have a field day. And look, part of this too is like did Gonzaga play that poorly defensively today, or did UCLA make like?
Oh, I thought Gonzaga. I thought they played really, really well defensively, and UCLA made the shots that Gonzaga wanted them to take. If you had Johnny Juzang pulling up from 15 feet off the dribble with Jalen Suggs getting a hand in his face. You live with that shot if you're Mark Few.
Yeah,
if you have Riley hitting 17 footers, hit like 19 of them, that's a shot that you live with if you're Mark Few.
Not to mention Juzang and Jaquez, like how big are these guys? Like 6'6", 6'7"? Like these dudes are like, in comparison, like you can see those mid-range shots going in because they're looking over the top of a lot of these dudes' heads and shooting them. So Baylor to even give Fanta and Rob a little love. Baylor, their guards are like 6'1", 6'2" a piece, like so they won't have that kind of size advantage over, Gonzaga's guards. I mean, they're going to be eye to eye with them, and as opposed to UCLA, who could shoot over the top of those guards mid range and get to the basket, and then have a little bit more length to finish. So, it'll be interesting. I'm excited to see, but I got to hold on to the Baylor Bears, man.
Yeah, I'm with Baylor. Do you have a total yet, Rob?
160.
Over.
Yeah. No, hammer's over on that. Hammer over on it.
It wasn't even a second. Over.
Points. A lot of points.
Well, the two defendants, I will call them, have put together some absolutely fantastic arguments here. And I have to say, you have been very convincing to this prosecutor on the other side.
I never thought I'd see you on the other side, Fanta. I never thought I'd see you on the other side.
Every champion has that moment on their run that makes you say, oh my God. And this one was the epitome of, oh my God. I thought Gonzaga was tight at times tonight. I thought there were moments when they didn't look like the full version of themselves. I think the total is absolutely going to go over 160 on this game. With that being said, if Gonzaga finds a way defensively to overcome the Corey Kispert problem of Baylor's 4 guards on the other side and how the Zags are going to be able to defend that, I am riding with the unbeaten Gonzaga Bulldogs in this game. 32-0 becomes a reality, and here's why it becomes a reality. I believe that Jalen Suggs and Davion Mitchell kind of cancel each other out, and for me, Joel Ayayi and Andrew Nembhard combined for 45 points in this game. They both go off, and Gonzaga does enough late in the game with Timmy creating matchup problems. The Zags find a way. It is a 4-point game, nip and tuck. Zags do just enough to win this game. Mark Few does a marvelous coaching job, and I like the Zags in a very tight game. I am taking Gonzaga because of Ayayi and Nembhard.
Do you like it? Do you guys see what he did right there? He said it's going to be a 4-point game. So if Baylor ends up winning, he can at least say, "Yeah, pick Baylor to cover." See, I told you. Smart.
It's a win-win. The man has been doing this for a long time.
Veteran of the conference for a long time. I'm with you, Fanta. I think that the size that Gonzaga has on their perimeter with their guards will be enough to be able to put Baylor off. I think it's going to come down to how many contested threes will Baylor be able to hit. And I was a little bit I feel good about what Baylor can do defensively against Davion and Jared Butler coming off those ball screens after watching them be able to blitz everything that UCLA did. So I want to stick with Gonzaga. I'm gonna I had them after the first game of the season. I'm going to stick with them now. No point in changing at this point if they got to the national title game. So I'm just fired up. I'm ready for it. I cannot wait for this game.
It's a dream for college basketball. After going a year without March Madness and the way the last 13 months has gone, this is the most anticipated national championship game that we've had in quite some time. It's tremendous for the sport. In the midst of chaos in the transfer portal and the coaching carousel revving up, the game on the court is delivering, and then some. Monday night is going to be great for college hoops.
Facts. I can't. We've been waiting on this game for the entire season, Rob. Like this has been like literally. This has been the game that's been keeping me in the dumps because I'm like, man, I wish we could have just saw this game during at least during the conference where they could have scheduled a non-conference game in conference somewhere. I was like, please schedule the game. It never happened, and here we are. We're here.
You know what?
How many?
To your point, Da'Sean, just quickly, Sam. Remember 4 months ago when Gonzaga Baylor was canceled? I remember the takes out there because like the casual sports fans were entering the fray because it was going to be top 2 teams in college basketball, and I remember seeing all the tweets. I don't know if college basketball can get through this season. They might not make it. This is really bad for the sport. How are they ever going to get there? 4 months to the day that the game got canceled, these two teams are going to play. It's an applause to the kids, the coaches, the NCAA, everybody that's made this happen. We all know it's been hard. It's been a bitch to pull off. But, man, 4 months to the day, we always said, like Goodman tweeted it all season, Scott Drew and Mark Few, give us this game. Guess what, guys? They're giving it to us for the title.
How many times have you guys broken down this game this year, Rob and Da'Sean? Like 4?
Probably like 17.
Even in our own time, like it's just like behind the scenes we talked about.
Hey, do you think Gonzaga could beat Baylor?
It's just like a random conversation, just like Jeez, well, listen, I cannot wait.
This has been fun. We will see you guys all again. I'm going to be on the stream again at 9 a.m. tomorrow with Goodman on Easter morning. I get to go see Jeff Goodman at 9 a.m.
Happy Easter, everybody!